Okay, thank you. I am Mr. Milkessa Asfaw from JUCAVM, and I'm also a PhD scholar with Department of Agricultural Economics in this university. And I did one work on impact of climate change on cereal crop production in Ethiopia by using auto-regressive distributive lag model co-integration approach by depending on time series data of around 31 years, which were obtained from different sources. As a background, in recent years, it is not surprisingly that climate changes brings a lot of adverse effects on agriculture, and particularly in Ethiopia, when we are comparing it to other crops production, cereal production is a leading form of agricultural practice, and specifically the 5 major cereal crops like teff, maize, sorghum, wheat, and the barley are the staple of Ethiopia's food sources, accounting for approximately around 64% of the calories consumed. Moreover, the state emphasized the issue of cereal production, not only because it accounts around this percent of calories consumed, but the country is importing a large number of cereal crops, especially like maize and the wheat, to keep the demand and supply balances in the domestic market. Therefore, enhancing this crop production will have an immense impact on improving the total grain supply in general and fulfilling the domestic demand in particular. Because of this, our study was aimed to examine the long-run effects of this climate change on cereal crops production.
I'm not sure. I think we had an interruption.
Yes, I'm not hearing anything.
Okay. And I'm not sure if our presenter has
it looks like it's gone.
Dropped.
Yeah. Likewise, if we look back at the presenter list, I'm not.
Okay, so what we may do is just wait a couple of minutes for Milkessa to see if he's able to reconnect. I see that.
Oh, he's. No, that's not.
And I see that Purnima also dropped. This is the challenge of having these international meetings, is that sometimes our internet connections aren't as stable. But we make a good go of it.
I'll see if I can maybe get an email from Hannah or David for them.
Okay. So we have a lot of, what I'm noticing, we have a lot of presenters today that are focused on climate change and impacts of climate. I think it seems like across globally, there's a greater acceptance of the fact that we are being severely impacted in agriculture and in our livelihoods with respect to climate change. And so it's good to see greater and greater advocacy for change, especially amongst the scientists here.
Yes, sir. Now the climate change has become almost a common currency. It has attached with everywhere, and agriculture is also not exception. And as agriculture scientists, we are now in a crossroads, whether to develop a mitigation practices or adaptation practices. So that gives a lot of challenges for us to develop this sort of strategy. And really very happy new challenges like ozone stress. It is so far unheard of in our researchable area is coming, and people are started to address those issues. Is a really a welcome change. I hope we will find a suitable solution for all these challenges in the days to come.
Yes, no, and thank you, Dr. Maragatham. That's a key issue that the voices have for decades been identifying that this is coming, and now we're scrambling to generate research in these areas that are now having direct impact on all the livelihoods. And it's great to have these up and coming researchers that are really pushing that envelope forward in the science for developing adaptation and resilience of these systems. So no, it's very heartening to see. I noticed that our presenter Milkessa, you managed to reconnect.
But there is a message from him says that the light has gone and he is disconnected. Okay. I think he's connecting again. Sir.
Good.
Let us hear from him.
Okay. Are you able to? Oh, there you are. Okay. So feel free to continue if you like.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
No problem at all. This is part of trying to make these global symposia work, is that sometimes the technical issues in our different countries come into play, and we just have to adjust and adapt. So yeah, feel free to continue when you're ready.
Thank you, Prof. So these are the variables that were employed as dependent and explanatory variables, and we mostly employed 3 proxy variables for climate change, like temperature, precipitation, and the carbon dioxide emissions, and as other variables as control. Sorry. The methods used in this study in order to analyze the variables, we mostly employed the econometric model, which is called as autoregressive distributive lag bounds testing approach, to test whether the variables have long-run relationship or whether they have co-integration variables or co-integration relationship are found between the proposed variables. And in the next step, we use also error correction term technique, which integrates the short-run dynamics with the long-run equilibrium. These are the model specifications that we mostly specified for long-run relationship, when it is the dependent variable is the natural logarithm for serial productions at time t, and depends on these explanatory variables, and the down one is on the relationship which is found on short-run equilibrium to calculate the error correction term from the model. This analysis shows testing for co-integration. Co-integration means whether the variables have long-run relationship or not. And from here, our null hypothesis is there is no long-run relationship, or there is no co-integration between the variables. And from this, our F statics is larger than the critical values bounds. And in this case, we are going to reject the null hypothesis, and we are going to conclude there is a co-integration or there is a long-run relationship between the variables that were proposed in the study. And this one is the estimated long-run and the short-run coefficients. From the long run, we can see from here that carbon dioxide and the temperature has a negative and a statistically significant effect on cereal crop production, with at 1% and 5% respectively. And the other variables like arable land and the fertilizers has a positive impact on cereal crop productions in the study areas. And most importantly, the error correction term was statistically significant and negative, which is going to be found at the last. And this mostly shows that the speed of adjustment means that the short-run disequilibrium is going to be adjusted at 112% towards this long-run equilibrium within a year, which recommends a good adjustment speed, So this one is diagnostic tests. We test that problems that found like serial correlations, normality, functional formula, heteroscedasticity problems, and there is no such kinds of issues in the model. In conclusion, this study examined the long-run effects of climate change on cereal crop production in Ethiopia by using time series data over 31 years. The bond test and the estimated coefficient of error correction term indicated the existence of co-integration between cereal crop production and the climate change. And as a result of the model showed, temperature and the carbon dioxide emissions have a negative effect on cereal crop production, specifically in the long run. We recommend that the government should have to strengthen the implementation of climate resilient green economy to reduce the drought and the possible effects of climate change in our area. This is all. Thank you, Prophet.